Good morning, CSL. Hello, everybody. I've been asleep, head in the sand, watching the time just ticking. Clock moves around, days in and out, can't really call it living. Somewhere I live like go dark, but here's where my new story starts. Take my life and let it be set on fire for all to see. Break me down, build me up again. Don't leave me the way I've been. Take my heart into your hands. Come and finish what you began. Till I seek your kingdom first. Till I shine, shine like heaven on earth. Like heaven on earth. Oh, I wanna wake, I wanna see all the ways you're moving. Show me the need, cause I wanna be part of what you're doing. In my life, let kingdom come. Not my will, but yours be done. Take my life and let it be set on fire for all to see. Break me down, build me up again. Don't leave me the way I've been. Take my heart into your hands. Come and finish what you began. Till I seek your kingdom first. Till I shine, shine like heaven on earth. Like heaven on earth. Help me stand when I should stand. Help me rest when I should rest. Help me give all I should give. All of me, nothing less. Help me speak with grace and truth. Help me fight for those who can. Help me do all I should do. Never holding nothing back. Take my life into your hands. Come and finish where you began. Come and teach your lesson first. Till I think on heaven on earth. With my heart into your hands. Come and finish what you began. Till I seek your kingdom first. Till I shine, shine like heaven on earth. Yeah, yeah, like heaven on earth. Yeah, 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 like heaven on earth. Oh, whoa, oh, whoa, like heaven on earth. Like heaven on earth. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ty. This is like heaven on earth, isn't it? Yeah. Welcome to heaven. Glad you showed up. I made it too. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Sorry. So this time of year is one of my favorite times of year. I love Christmas. I love Christmas caroling. I love hot cider. I love a candlelight service. I love putting up my Christmas tree. Now, I know in the room that there's several different traditions and not everybody was brought up Christian. But I also have been learning a lot more about my original traditions that I had. And I just came to find out, well, I didn't just come to find out, but I knew that these traditions that I hold so fondly in my heart and soul are not Christian. Yeah. They're Celtic and Norse. Yeah. Turns out they arose from winter solstice celebrations. And this Friday is winter solstice. So I thought I'd delve a little bit more into that. What I love about winter solstice is it's a time to celebrate death, endings, the death of the old sun. And then there's a period in the in-between, which is the longest night. And then there is the birth of the new sun. And during that time, traditionally, there's a celebration called Yule. And Yule time was when the farmers and the people were getting ready for the winter. Sometimes during Yule, they would need to slaughter some of the animals that they had because they wouldn't have enough food to feed the animals. And so the animals became food for feasts during this time of year. And Yule spanned, right now it's spanning 12 days from solstice until New Year's, but it used to go 2 months long. And it was a time of going within and a time of preparing for that dark night, that timing. The first carols were sung on solstice, which I thought was really interesting. They come from an English tradition during Yule of wassailing. Wassailing. It's a word that's derived from the Norse, meaning be well and in good health. And traditionally, a group of townsfolk would go out into the orchards, into everybody's orchard. They go orchard to orchard to orchard, and they would sing to the apple trees. And they would also bring their mulled cider, and they would drink their cider and sing to the trees. And they were blessings of good cheer upon the trees so that they would reveal a rich bounty when harvest time came. So they were blessing the trees, and they go from farm to farm, and that soon turned from house to house and a blessing for the people in the houses, and that evolved into our modern day caroling. The Christmas tree has its origins in the practice of bringing a live tree into the home so the wood spirits would have a place to keep warm during the winter. Yeah. Bells were hung on the limbs so you could tell when an appreciative spirit was present. And food and treats were hung on the branches for the spirits to eat. And a 5-pointed star, symbol of the 5 elements, which is fire, water, air, earth, and spirit, were placed on top of the tree to honor the elements. So solstice. It is the time that frames the longest time, the longest night of the year, the dark night of the soul. And I was thinking, we're on that path. We're on the place where the sun is dying. The end is near. Darkness is upon us. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. And I wonder, are you willing to greet the darkness? Are you willing to delve into the feelings that come up with the darkness? Can you make peace with the endings? I've been thinking about this year for me. There's a lot of endings for me. I lived in California for 18 years. So it's the ending of that time, almost 2 decades in California. Speaking of decades, it's the end of my 30s. I know it keeps getting better, I've heard. It's an end of old habits and ways of being that no longer serve me because I have an opportunity to have a shift, a transition, a new awakening where everything is kind of tossed in the air. It gives me the opportunity to reform and reframe. So it's also an end to playing small. And for this community, it's an end to the former home, the former ways of being. Everything, again, is up in the air, and we're learning how to travel, as Kathy Ann said, in multiple tents. We're in a place where we're in the in-between right now. And I think that when I ponder the darkness, it spurs me and evokes the reverence of the divine. It reminds me of the time of transformation. The darkness is where the transformation occurs. It is the most holy of holies, the most sacred of sacred places. I was talking to a friend about beginnings and endings, and she was telling me about birth and how I haven't physically birthed a child, so I don't actually know this, but I can imagine, and many women here understand, that it's kind of like taking the two sides of the universe and holding them open for a pause, just long enough for the newness to come through. And it's painful and it's difficult. And it's the in-between, but what results of it is magnificent and beautiful. And I wonder, what place have you made in your life for the darkness? What place have you made in your life for the fertile soil? Have you been willing to go there? I really appreciate studying the earth-based traditions because they talk about the cardinal directions. Many of the native people in this country and in other countries think of the cycle of life as the cycle of the seasons. In the area of the north is the area where the ancestors sit. If you think of the area in the east is where the sun rises. It's the area of springtime. And then you talk about the south, and that's where the summer is. And all the fruit coming into being, and then you have the west where the sun sets, and it's the harvest. But then you enter into the north. It's the winter time. It symbolizes the ending and the completion of a cycle. It's a dark, cold place of night. And it's the place of our growing period. I think about nighttime, and I know where the night is darkest, I can see the stars the best. It's a backdrop for the light to come forth. So I want to honor our darkness. I want to honor the night. I want to honor this time as a growth period. So I'd like to invite you all to stand up and face this wall. This is the north. For those of you online, you can look at your cell phone and look up compass, because that's what I did. Stand up and face the north. And if you could please put your hands up and say, "Energy of the north, I welcome you.
Energy of the north, I welcome you.
I open to the wisdom of my endings. I'm willing to receive the gifts in this time of darkness. And now I'd like you to put your hands on your heart, and I'd like you to think of your ancestors. Your ancestors are sitting in the north, supporting you right here and right now. And imagine whose shoulders you stand on, who came before you. And I'd like you to go ahead and utter their names out loud into the room of the people that you want to thank and honor for getting you to the place that you are now. All the ancestors who've passed on, if you go ahead and speak their name into the room. Mary Donahoe, Mickey Shire, Ed Shire, Lou Shire, Bill Donahoe, Neil Zimmerman. And now put your hands up again and say, "I welcome the stillness. I am grateful for the gifts." And so it is. You may be seated. recognizing that solstice is the in-between. The longest night, the shortest day. Tradition says that we're in the womb of the great goddess in the middle of the solstice, and that she gives birth to the sun god. The word solstice is derived from the Latin word sol, meaning sun, and sistere, which means to stand still, where the sun moves too slowly or appears to stand still. It's a reminder to be still, to go inward, to connect with those deep roots. And I know that oftentimes this is a time period in our modern society of rushing around, of buying gifts, of doing the family party, of decorating the house, of making sure everything's ready, and making sure you're not naughty or nice, you're just getting it all done. And I want to invite you to consider the energy of what's going on in the planet right now. To capitalize on what has been going on for millennia and to utilize it as a space for your own transformation. Rumi said, "Listen, clam up your mouth and be silent like an oyster shell, for that tongue of yours is the enemy of the soul. When the lips are silent, the heart has 100 tongues." Ernest Holmes said that you can listen to the silence until it speaks to you. Deep in the silence of your being is everything that's right about you, strong about you, potent and beautiful about you. It is beyond the ego. It is one of the most simple and powerful ways of getting to know yourself. And as you invest your time in the silence, the I am that longs to be revealed shows itself magnificently. Are you willing to invest some time in the I am? Now, I invite you to do that on your own, or if you want to have it be guided, I encourage you to sign up to Kathy Ann's I Am Retreat, because it's a space of listening to the greatness so it can be birthed through you. When there is the time to take the pause, to be in the in-between of the honoring the old before the new beginning, there is a spark that happens, a spark of newness, of hope. It is the sacred fire, the light of the world, the birth of fire, the birth of the sun. And it's interesting that in solstice, there is a lot of understanding that it is the time of honoring the endings. It is the time of being in the in-between, and it is the time of welcoming new beginnings. If you'd like to participate with us on Friday, we're going to have an hour-long service where you'll be physically experiencing what that process is for an hour on actual solstice. It's interesting because the gods and goddesses of light were born on solstice, of many different traditions. I found this fascinating. The Egyptian god Isis, one of my favorites, she delivered Horus at this time, during the solstice. And his symbol was the winged sun. Mithras, the son of Persia, S-U-N, son of Persia, was also born during solstice. In Japan, Amaterasu, the Japanese goddess of the sun, was born. Rhea gave birth to Saturn at this time. Hera conceived Hephaestus. And interesting, Quetzalcoatl and Lucina, the little light, also were born at this time. The birth of Sarasvati, the Hindu goddess of knowledge and the queen of heaven, was also celebrated during this time. Now, isn't it interesting that these global world traditions had the same thing going on at this very time of year? Interesting that the Christian timing of the birth of Jesus occurred during the Yule. Many of the scholars say that Jesus was born around April, around springtime. And Christmas was a traveling holiday. It was all different times of the year, movable feast. And the decision to establish December 25th as the actual day of Jesus' birth was made by Pope Julius I in the 4th century. He wanted to replace the traditional celebrations that were happening in the earth-based religions with the Christian ones. And so he overlaid the Christian holiday on top of the earth-based traditions that were going on. So I find that interesting because now I know a little bit more of my own Christian history. I can see how the overlay came about. And the tradition that I'm celebrating is really multiple traditions, multiple ways of honoring. The evergreens on the hearth is supposed to symbolize the life that is sustained all year, even when it looks like it's not. So when that big windstorm came through the other day and blew off all the branches from my evergreen tree, I took them inside and I put them on my hearth. It was great. I was like, thank you, God. I didn't have to buy these. Okay, cool. Ernest Holmes said that even what we did yesterday to set the law of life in motion to create what we are doing today, so what we are doing today to set the same law into motion to create what will happen to us tomorrow. What we did yesterday is carried over into today only because we give consent to it. What we're thinking and doing today can create the kind of tomorrow we want to experience if we will change our outlook on life. What if we utilize this time as an opportunity to be a vessel, an available spaciousness to be open to divine light, to divine inspiration? I would love to have a new beginning, but I know that I can't have a new beginning if I can't let go of an old ending. And in order to have peace and come to acknowledge the old endings, I have the opportunity to see the gifts in them, to see how they set me up and place me to where I am today, and then honor the in-between. So I invite you to take this time of year to set aside some spaciousness, some silence, to let go of the busyness and to just make yourself available, to capitalize on the energy of the entire world, to capitalize on all of these traditions that might be saying something to us, that maybe if I stay in the silence and I stay open and receptive, that new things will come through that I can't even imagine. A new birth will come through me. I love the experience of the caterpillar, the chrysalis, and the butterfly. And it's like the caterpillar is seeking something new, but it doesn't know how to do it. It doesn't know how to be the butterfly. And maybe that's you. Maybe you're seeking a new experience, on the other side of this year. Maybe there's a new way of being that you really want to call forth into your life right now, but you don't know how to do it. The caterpillar makes the chrysalis, and it sits there until the impulse to become the butterfly comes through. It's not lying fallow. It's being in the energy of the transformation. So while it looks like nothing's going on, miracles are happening. So I invite you to welcome miracles into your life. I welcome you to be in the silence, to invite the newness, and to celebrate this dark night of the soul, not as a time of challenge or despair, but in a time to come know yourself. Dante said in the Divine Comedy, "In the middle of the journey of my life, I came to myself in a dark wood." Let us do that together. Let us explore the dark wood and know that something miraculous is happening here. Are you willing to do that with me? Yes. All right, let's do it. Let's pray. I'm so grateful to know that there is an infinite universe that birthed me. It made me out of star stuff in its own likeness and image. And while I am a macrocosm or microcosm of the macrocosm, I know that the creative urge to have newness be reborn within me is backed by a universe of support. And so I surrender into this time of reflection, this time of introspection, this time of allowing my roots to go deeper. I recognize and know that as my roots go deeper and as I set forth into this truth, that the entire universe conspires to build my wings, to refresh and revamp my life so that I can express the splendiferous elegance of my soul in a deep and profound level that brings me joy and brings the world joy. As I claim this truth for myself, I know that everybody listening, that these words are not just my words. These words are the words of the Infinite One for each and every person present here, each and every person watching online. That each and every person is that vessel, that receptacle, that spaciousness for a new idea to come forth. And so I just surrender into that, knowing that God's got it. I just get to be in it. I get to be in the miracle. And for that I'm grateful, and so it is. Namaste.